The cabin yard was quiet that morning, the kind of stillness that only comes when the forest itself seems to be holding its breath. Birds chirped faintly, leaves rustled softly, and the old wooden fence cast long, stretching shadows across the gravel. My hands were on the wheel of my tractor, preparing for a routine day of work, when the sharp, shrill sound of a phone piercing the air shattered the calm. HOA Karen had arrived, her face twisted in self-righteous fury. She held her phone tightly, calling the cops, claiming chaos, danger, and imagined violations. Her entitlement was palpable, a physical force pressing against the peaceful yard as if she could bend reality to her will. She gestured wildly, her voice high and frantic, demanding control over property that had been in my family for generations. I glanced at the driveway and felt the tension coiling like a spring. Her eyes narrowed, scanning the yard, sizing up the space, as if she believed she could intimidate it, and us, into submission. She had no idea what she had just provoked. Moments later, the distant wail of sirens began to rise, cutting through the trees. Karen's triumph was short-lived. Calm and deliberate, I stepped forward and pulled out what I had prepared for this inevitable confrontation. The air seemed to pause. Even the wind held its breath. Karen froze. Her confidence evaporated instantly, replaced by disbelief, fear, and the stark realization that she had underestimated the resolve, preparation, and authority of those she sought to dominate. Some actions, once taken, cannot be undone. Some arrogance, once unleashed, meets consequences it never imagined. And some people learn, too late, that they've challenged forces far beyond their understanding. Hit subscribe, watch till the end. The cabin had always been my refuge. Nestled on the edge of a dense forest, it was shielded by towering pines, their long shadows stretching across the yard as the sun moved lazily across the sky. The wooden fence surrounding the property bore the marks of decades, scratches from livestock, weathered paint, and the silent witness of countless seasons. My friend and I had spent years maintaining it, each repair a testament to care, preparation, and respect for the land. But HOA Karen had never respected boundaries. For months, she had been escalating her harassment. What began as minor complaints, calls about leaves on the lawn, fences supposedly out of alignment, had grown into a campaign of intimidation. She sent notices, threatened fines, and even called the police over imagined violations. Each attempt to assert control was rooted not in reason but in entitlement, a belief that she could dictate the lives of others through noise and authority. That morning, she arrived again, car skidding slightly on the gravel, phone clutched tightly. Her eyes darted around the yard, taking in the fence, the cabin, the carefully arranged tools. Her voice, sharp and insistent over the phone, summoned officers to enforce her imagined rules. She gestured wildly, pointing at spaces that had never belonged to her, expecting immediate compliance. I watched calmly, adjusting my position slightly, signaling to my friend with subtle movements. Every action was deliberate. Every glance and shift of weight communicated readiness and control without raising alarm. The cabin and its yard had been prepared for every scenario, every potential escalation, every imagined violation Karen might fabricate. As her car door slammed and her calls continued, the distant wail of approaching sirens grew louder. Karen's imagined power, once confident and assertive, began to falter under the weight of reality. She expected chaos, fear, or submission, but found only calm, measured control. The forest around us held its breath. The trees whispered warnings with the wind, their shadows stretching long across the yard. The old cabin, silent but sturdy, stood as a sentinel over the land, its wooden beams absorbing the tension, its very presence a quiet testament to preparedness. Karen had no idea what she had walked into. Even as the officers arrived, scanning the property with caution, the imbalance of power was clear. Karen had called for reinforcements, yet her confidence had already begun to crumble. She believed she could manipulate the law and control the scene, but she had underestimated not just the people before her, but the planning, discipline, and authority behind every movement. In that quiet tension, the stage was set. Shadows deepened, the sirens approached, and Karen's entitlement collided with decades of preparation. The confrontation that was about to unfold would test resolve, patience, and authority, and would forever mark the cabin yard as a place where arrogance meets consequences. Karen's shrill calls to 911 echoed across the cabin yard, slicing through the peaceful morning like a jagged knife. She painted a scenario of chaos and danger that didn't exist, insisting the officers intervene immediately. Her voice was sharp, frantic, laced with entitlement and panic, a volatile mix that made the air itself feel charged. She believed her actions would force compliance, that her imagined authority could dictate reality. She was wrong. The distant wail of sirens grew steadily louder, breaking through the forest's whispers. Officers arrived cautiously, stepping out of their vehicles with hands poised, scanning every angle of the yard, every shadow between the trees. Their training made them alert, but they could not yet gauge the true nature of the confrontation. They had expected a minor complaint, perhaps a dispute over boundaries, but the tension in the air suggested that this situation had the potential to escalate far beyond their expectations. My friend and I moved deliberately, our actions coordinated and calm. Subtle glances and gestures communicated readiness, a silent choreography born of preparation and experience. The yard, seemingly tranquil, had become a stage for a test of patience, discipline, and authority. Karen, unaware of what she had provoked, advanced, gesturing wildly at the officers, insisting that the cabin doors be opened. Her confidence wavered slightly as she met the steady, unflinching gaze of law enforcement and the quiet control radiating from the property itself. The tension stretched taut, each heartbeat amplified. Karen's expectation of submission collided with the reality of readiness. The officers, trained to assess and contain, recognized the discipline and deliberate positioning on the yard. They noted the careful arrangement of tools, the subtle signs of preparedness, the calm demeanor that contrasted sharply with Karen's frantic energy. Her entitlement, once a force of intimidation, now faltered under observation. Then it happened. A sudden movement, a miscalculated step, Karen's panic escalated, and a gun was drawn. A shot rang out, a deafening crack that shattered the morning's quiet. My friend crumpled. Authority shifted the balance instantly. Karen froze, realizing her imagined power was meaningless in the face of calculated preparation and lawful response. The yard became a theater of tension. Every shadow, every creak of the cabin, every rustle of leaves became amplified. The officers coordinated silently, containing the threat while assessing the situation. My friend, though wounded, remained protected by positioning and foresight, his survival a testament to preparation and quick thinking. Karen's calls to authority, her frantic gestures, collided with the calm, deliberate, and decisive presence of the SWAT team. Time stretched. Seconds felt like minutes as the confrontation unfolded. Karen's entitlement dissolved into fear, her imagined dominance replaced by the stark reality of consequences she could neither control nor escape. The yard, once a peaceful retreat, became a testament to readiness and discipline. Shadows deepened, the sun casting elongated shapes across the gravel, each movement now a study in precision and survival. By the time officers fully assessed the scene, Karen was powerless, her authority gone, exposed by the very escalation she had initiated. She had crossed the line, provoking forces far beyond her imagination. Her sense of control had been an illusion, shattered by preparation, discipline, and lawful authority. In that tense, silent standoff, one truth became undeniable: arrogance and entitlement can provoke, but preparation, knowledge, and readiness dictate outcomes. Every action has consequences. Every intrusion invites judgment. And in the collision of impulsive aggression and calculated authority, only those who prepare emerge unscathed. Karen's eyes widened as the SWAT team moved into position, their presence a silent statement of control and authority. Her confidence, built on entitlement and imagined power, evaporated instantly. She had called the cops, demanded obedience, and now faced the reality she could not manipulate. The yard, once calm, was charged with tension. Shadows stretched across the gravel, the cabin standing as a silent witness. Every step the officers took was precise, deliberate, and controlled. The slightest misstep could have escalated the situation, But the team's discipline neutralized risk, leaving Karen frozen in disbelief. My friend, though shaken, remained alive, protected by preparation and quick thinking. Karen had underestimated the people before her, the law, and the consequences of her actions. She realized too late that authority is earned through control, foresight, and knowledge, not claimed through entitlement or panic. The SWAT team advanced methodically, containing the scene, securing the property, and removing the threat. Karen's imagined power crumbled under the weight of reality. In that moment, the lesson was clear: arrogance provokes, but preparation conquers. Entitlement clashes with consequence, and those who respect boundaries and plan for chaos always prevail. The forest finally exhaled. The tension that had gripped the cabin yard for hours dissolved into the quiet whisper of wind through the pines. Shadows receded as sunlight filtered through the canopy, revealing the aftermath of chaos, the scars of entitlement, and the unmistakable mark of preparation meeting aggression. Karen had been removed from the scene, her voice silenced, her authority dismantled, and her confidence shattered by the undeniable reality of consequence. The cabin, silent once more, stood as a sentinel over the land. Its wooden beams bore witness to every step, every moment of courage, and every calculated action that had prevented disaster. My friend, though shaken and wounded, had survived because of foresight, positioning, and the discipline that underpinned every move we had made that day. The preparation that had seemed excessive in calmer times now proved essential, saving a life and reinforcing a critical truth. Chaos can be met, controlled, and contained when strategy, training, and vigilance intersect. Karen's intrusion had been predictable only to those who understood the patterns of entitlement and escalation. She had believed that calling the police, making accusations, and leveraging her imagined authority could bend reality to her will. Yet, she had misjudged not just us but the power of preparation itself. True authority is not assumed. It is earned through discipline, knowledge, and respect for consequence. The contrast between her chaos-driven entitlement and our calm, deliberate readiness was stark, a lesson etched into the yard and the minds of all who witnessed it. In the days that followed, the story spread quietly among neighbors and officials alike. Karen, once seen as a figure of authority within the HOA, became a cautionary tale of arrogance undone by preparation and principle. Her attempts to assert control had exposed not her power, but her vulnerability, revealing the hollowness beneath her aggressive posturing. The tale of her overreach served as a reminder that entitlement has boundaries and that ignoring them invites consequence. The yard, once ordinary, now carried the invisible marks of vigilance. Every shadow, every fence post, every rustling leaf seemed to whisper lessons about authority, foresight, and the collision between arrogance and preparedness. The cabin's walls, silently weathered by decades, had absorbed the tension and transformed it into a silent testament to readiness. Those who entered the space could feel it: the subtle hum of discipline, the weight of strategic thinking, the calm assurance that comes from knowing one is prepared for any eventuality. The SWAT team, who had arrived with silent efficiency, became a symbol of this principle. Their movements, precise and deliberate, conveyed a message far stronger than words ever could. Chaos can be controlled, threats can be neutralized, and authority backed by preparation is absolute. Karen's presence, once loud and imposing, was rendered meaningless against the weight of measured, disciplined response. Every officer, every maneuver, every moment of restraint demonstrated that true power lies not in entitlement or aggression, but in knowledge, preparation, and lawful action. As the days turned into weeks, the cabin yard regained its tranquility. Yet the lessons of that day remained vivid. Entitlement unchecked breeds escalation, arrogance provokes, and when boundaries are crossed, consequences arrive with certainty. Karen's actions had provoked a chain reaction she could neither foresee nor control, and the result was a stark demonstration of the consequences of failing to respect others' rights, property, and preparedness. For my friend and me, the experience reinforced principles long held: vigilance, preparation, and calm decisiveness are the keys to safety and survival. Every tool in the yard, every strategy employed, every moment of observation had mattered. The cabin was no longer just a refuge, It was a fortress of knowledge, discipline, and readiness. Karen had assumed she could dominate through noise and imagined authority, but she had learned too late that true control is never granted by intimidation. It is earned through preparation and exercised through measured action. The incident also highlighted a broader truth about human behavior. Many underestimate the consequences of arrogance, the limits of entitlement, and the inevitability of cause and effect. Karen had assumed her 911 call and aggressive posturing would command obedience. Instead, they triggered a cascade of response, discipline, and lawfulness that she could neither anticipate nor influence. Her downfall was a reminder that actions have weight, and those who act without understanding the forces aligned against them risk consequences they cannot escape. The yard became a symbol of resilience. The trees, the fences, the cabin, and even the gravel beneath our feet carried the silent memory of confrontation, preparedness, and ultimate triumph. Visitors sensed the story embedded in the land, the lesson that chaos can be met with calm, that aggression can be neutralized through discipline, and that those who respect boundaries thrive while those who ignore them falter. Even as normal life resumed, the echoes of that day remained. The lessons were not just about preparation or law. They were about respect, foresight, and the nature of authority. Karen had assumed she could dominate, but domination without understanding, without strategy, and without respect is fleeting. The cabin yard, in contrast, was a place where preparation and principle ensured safety, order, and inevitability. Ultimately, the story stands as a testament to consequence. The SWAT intervention, the calm decisiveness, and the readiness of those involved demonstrated that chaos can be controlled, threats can be neutralized, and authority backed by preparation is absolute. Karen's arrogance, unchecked entitlement, and failure to respect boundaries met the reality of law, discipline, and strategy. The lesson is timeless. Entitlement provokes, arrogance meets consequences, preparation ensures survival. The cabin yard, once a quiet retreat, now stands as a monument to vigilance, discipline, and the power of foresight. Shadows may stretch across its ground, and the wind may whisper through the trees, but the legacy of that confrontation remains clear. Respect boundaries, prepare for escalation, and never underestimate the consequences of your actions.